You consider yourself a little bit of a rebel. Do the words have to make you want to run for the literal hills? Nothing makes you want to do something less than feeling like you have to do it. I got a little bit of that inside of me as well. And my clients, they certainly have a lot of that as well. And so I want to share with you today 7 strategies that you can use when you are finding yourself in a big rut because you just can't make yourself do it. Or maybe you just have a little temporary case of the I don't want us, the I don't feel like it's. Um, or whether that's just like your MO all day, all year, all life long, right? So I want to share with you a bunch of different strategies that you can use when you are finding yourself just having a lot of resistance towards getting stuff done that you know you have to get done, that you know you need to get done. Maybe it's stuff that you say, I really want this to be done. Why am I not doing it? You know what? You might want it to be done, but you might not want to do it, right? So when you're the person who has to do the things, but saying you have to makes you just literally want to run away, let's talk about some strategies that actually work. So, strategy number 1 is to actually reduce the perceived pressure. Now, a while back, maybe a few weeks back, I talked to you about using a could do list, right? Instead of a to do list, a could do list. So you can reduce that perceived pressure on yourself. And sometimes these little language tricks, you feel like, well, I mean, I'm making the language trick. Why would this work? I don't know why it works. It does, though. So reduce that perceived pressure because if you feel like you have to, that may be the thing that is actually increasing the resistance to doing it. And so let off a little steam, open up that little valve up there, the metaphorical valve, and see if you can reduce some of that perceived pressure so that you can get yourself to do it because you don't have to, you might want to, or you could, right? Now, strategy number 2, break it down. Break it down to get it done. I say this all the time. Break it down to get it done. Now, if you are having some resistance towards something, sometimes it's because it's something that's big, it's vague, it's overwhelming, you're not exactly sure how to do it, or just feels like it's not going to be fun. Break it down. What is the smallest next step that you can take to move this thing forward? Your goal here is to turn everything into low-hanging fruit, right? You want to make this next step so small, so simple, so easy that you literally can't convince yourself not to do it, right? You can't convince yourself because that would be ridiculous. So break it down to get it done, and this will help you move past some of that resistance. Now, a third thing that you can do is to just remember that you're actually in control. No one can make you do something, right? You don't actually have to do anything. Nothing at all. Nobody can make you do anything. Nothing, nothing, nothing. Just reminding yourself of this can be really helpful. Now, are there consequences if you don't do some of these things? Sure, right? But you get to make that decision, right? You get to make that decision about whether those consequences are worth it to you. Nobody can make you do anything. And I'm going to tell you a little story from my past because it was one of my kids who taught me this a long, long time ago. So I had a kid who, let's just say, for years and years and years, we would be on a hike, we would be on a walk, we would be somewhere, and he would just lie down on the street or on the path, hiking path, and not move. And this was at a time where he was actually too big for us to carry. We could not make him do it, right? Like there was nothing that we could do as parents to make him do it. Sure, we could threaten, we could entice, we could bribe, we could do all of those things. But at the end of the day, if he didn't want to move, we couldn't make him move. And this is true for you as well. At the end of the day, you are the only person who decides your actions, right? Now, of course, there are going to be consequences to certain actions if you decide not to do it. But even just realizing that you have a choice, that this isn't a have to, because no one can make you. You are the one deciding it. Sometimes that can actually make a really big difference. Now, strategy number 4, make it more fun, gamify it, right? Whatever that thing that you're doing, you probably have resistance to doing it in some ways because it's not actually very fun. And I don't like to do things that aren't very fun, and I'm sure you don't either. So why don't you try to make it more fun, right? Could you make it a game? Could you, if you're like a super competitive person, could you race against yourself or someone else? Could you do something to turn whatever it is into a game? And if you're struggling to think of how you could turn something into a game and you just don't want to spend that mental pressure, use ChatGPT to say, hey, I have this thing that I don't want to do. How can I make this into a game to make it a little bit more fun? Just get some ideas. You don't have to rely on your own brain for that. So make it more fun. Now, Another thing you can do, strategy number 5, is to do it with a friend or a colleague. Make it something where you're not doing it alone. This is a strategy that's called body doubling. And if you have ADHD or know anybody who does, you have probably heard of this strategy. It is the act of having somebody there just helps you to actually be able to do the thing, whatever it is. And so there are a lot of different organizations out there, a lot of different companies that actually are tapping into this. There are three that I can think of off the top of my head that will allow you to essentially pay to get on Zoom with a stranger or multiple strangers to get things done in a virtual body doubling kind of way. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. You could just grab somebody else in your household. You could ask a colleague if they might want to do it as well. Sometimes it is literally as simple as getting on a Zoom, or if you're in a physical office, sitting next to each other and saying, okay, I got to get this done. Here's what I'm going to do for the next hour. Let's be silent, not even talk to each other. If we're on Zoom, we're going to go on mute and we're going to go off camera. We're going to do the thing and then we're going to come back at the end and we're going to share what we did. In my time well spent coaching program, we have one of these sessions every single week. And I am always like so impressed by what people get done. People show up and they're like, you know what? I've been needing to send these 6 emails that I've been procrastinating on for 2 weeks or whatever. Get it done. There are bills I need to pay. There's this thing that I have been, that is, in the important but not urgent camp. I need to get it done. They get it done on these sessions. So you can do this in your own life. And also, if you need a little help, you know where to find me, right? Now, strategy number 6 is to actually engage with the resistance, right? And this is the strategy of the 5 whys. So if you are having resistance to doing something, I want you to ask yourself why. And then, whatever the answer is to that, I want you to ask yourself why again. And I want you to do this 5 times. And what typically happens is by 5 whys, or sometimes before, we get to the root cause about why we are resistant to this thing, whatever it is. And once we get to the root cause, well, then we can actually make better judgments, right? Now, sometimes we're going to be able to rationalize our way into doing the thing. Other times we're like, you know what? The reason I have resistance is because I don't think this thing is actually worth doing. And then we can let go of the guilt around not doing the thing and just not do the thing, whatever it is, right? So ask yourself the 5 whys. And then lastly, be kind to yourself. This is strategy number 7. Be kind to yourself. If you are procrastinating, if you are resisting, if you are not doing the thing that you otherwise want yourself to do, don't beat yourself up about it. That is actually not going to work. Studies, science, personal experience all show us that when we beat ourselves up, it's not only not effective in the short term, it's pretty damaging in the long term. The way to get yourself to do stuff is to be nice to yourself, right? You are going to get a lot farther if you can cut yourself some slack, give yourself some grace, using those 5 whys to help you understand why it is that you are having some resistance, but be nice to yourself. If you have said some mean things to yourself, see if you can reframe them and give yourself some slack there, because you're going to feel better and you're also going to be more productive if you can cut yourself some slack and just be kind to yourself, right? Whatever it is that you didn't do, you can't go back into the past and do it. You can only do it in the future. You can only do it going forward. And so be nice to yourself about it, right? Beating yourself up just isn't going to help. Now, if you liked this video, then please give it a like. If you have more strategies you want to share, drop it in the comments. And if you want to see me every single week, then make sure to subscribe. All right, until next week.
Video editor here. I just want to tell you guys to subscribe. Only about 20% of the people that watch our videos are subscribed, so if you like the content and you keep coming back every week for more, it's just a great help.